practice, where the mariners will be looking for the most economic route and at the same time the safest route, where they're not going to be exposed to any navigational hazards. So it's a combination of economy, of good maritime and navigational practice. So if you look at the archipelago and actually I don't think we can invent new routes there. They're there. And they're going to be the same routes that will be applicable for maybe the next 1 million years. I don't see any possibility of these routes being changed.
Mr. Chair, I reiterate my move to vote.
There is now a motion. Please,
I'd like to make a motion for a division. Those who would like to leave it and delegate it to the President, vote on that. Those who believe that it should be made an act of Congress, vote on that too, please.
Can we explain our motives?
yeah, everybody can explain their votes, but there is a motion here. I know it was plotted, no? There is, the question here is, we will choose.
We will choose, sir, between those who believe in essentially Attorney Batumbacal's view that it should be left to the President and whatever else it entails.
No.
Sorry.
Well, the position of Attorney Batumbacal is that he is sustaining the provisions in the bill that the three coordinates would be identified in the bill and the amendment of granting the President would be already removed.
I stand corrected, sir. Yes, I'm sorry.
And insofar as Professor Batumbacal is concerned, then no coordinates in the law.
No coordination.
No coordination in the law.
And then the
President be given the power.
Yeah.
Sir, if I may.
So excuse me, the motion, let's be very clear about the motion. Please rephrase
Yes, sir. Let me rephrase my motion. But we will vote on either status quo, no coordinates, and it's delegated to the President, or we will vote on making this, on voting for this bill, where we will establish the coordinates for the sea lanes that we would like.
Chairman, if we establish coordinates in accordance with the designated sea lanes, as a mariner myself, I would like to categorically state that those selected, there is no way that the succeeding presidents can change them, because in the considered opinion of this representation, those are the best, the most optimum sea lanes conceivable as far as the Philippine archipelago is concerned. And the next president cannot reinvent
That's
those
why
sea lanes.
there is.
That's why we should not be worried about the possibility that there might be a need to designate the new sea lanes.
That's why, but there has to be coordinates.
Yes,
Because they cannot run off course, they cannot sail off course, they cannot
That's why I'm in favor of coordinates also, because that is the best way to delimit the scope of the sea lanes.
Okay, before we vote,
I second the motion.
Congressman Malinga.
I'm objecting, Mr. Chairman. My objection is, I believe, as I was saying earlier, we need more time, perhaps another week or 2 weeks, to study this. Because as issues are being presented, we thought it was necessary that we have to review further the provisions of the clauses, Mr. Chairman. We all agree that national interest is at stake here, and that is paramount. And there is no disagreement between the two views, Mr. Chairman. But there are some areas of disagreement which we feel that national interest is also at stake. For example, there is an interpretation, and this is the interpretation of Professor Insulto, that insofar as going to IMO is concerned, you don't have to go there prior, and it can be done after. And of course, he was saying may adapt. Now, I will go to that. On the other hand, Professor Batumbacal is telling us, no, if we interpret that provision properly, it has to be before. It has to be before. So we have divided like this, Mr. Chairman. Now, if I may pursue the thinking of Professor Soto, he said, if ito rin Pilipino, mas malakas ang dating kung ito ay sa Kongreso. Well, mas malakas ang dating because he said this will provide some kind of stability of policy. But insofar as the validity and effect, whether legislative or executive, pareho lang, Mr. Chairman, insofar as the international community is concerned. Now, second, if I will pursue the point, he said, if eventually IMO does not agree with us, the most that will happen is for them to add additional sea lanes. I think that was your statement, Professor. If that happens, Mr. Chairman, then who will decide for the additional? Can the executive branch unilaterally, Mr. Chairman, make a decision? That means we have to go back to Congress. So we are back to square one. Kaya gusto namin, Mr. Chairman, pag-usapan natin mabuti ito, pag-aralan natin mabuti, bigyan mo kami at least 1 more week to study the issues. And second, the issue on appropriation. I believe this is very important, which we are not raising at the moment, Mr. Chairman. So, with that, I am objecting that the vote would now be taken.
Okay, one more. We will listen to you. It's noted, Congressman Padilla.
May adjustment.
Yes, please.
Just one important piece of information here, Mr. Chairman. If you look at the board, these are tracks of vessels based on actual use. And these are the tracks. These are the tracks.
Kulay white.
Yung light na yan. Those are the ones that you could really say are traditional routes for international navigation. Next slide, please. If you look more closely at the location of these tracks.
Wala siya dun sa atin na.
Next.
Next slide.
If you look more closely, they do not coincide with the most used tracks. Look here, it goes down immediately and avoids to Bataharif and goes through Basilan. Here, you have an entry point that goes up. Perhaps it goes through north, but we don't know how many of those actually go into Philippine ports. And yet, we are already designating these lanes through the archipelago. That is why, Mr. Chairman, I think this already shows you that we cannot decide on this, just on the basis of these pieces of paper. Yung red na yun, ma'am, yun po yung coordinate ng 3 sea lanes na yun.
Na pinopropose sa bill.
Yun po yung nasa bill. And yet, most of the vessels have actually been passing elsewhere. So they do not even coincide with the traditional routes. So these are the kinds of information that should really be considered before we start drawing lines on the map.
Okay, as you can see now.
Mali siya yun.
Yung sea lanes. The sea lanes, the 3